Hey, this is Coach Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic, sponsored by Rack Coach. We have Coach Bill Mountjoy back on today, and he's going to be talking about the power of positive passing. Coach Mountjoy, how are you doing today?
Great, Troy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Coach. So I've got the power of positive passing. Can you see that on your screen, Coach?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I'm ready to go, Coach. I'm excited to hear you.
Okay, right. This is a course that we have for our quarterbacks and coaches, for example, that I share with other coaches who are interested in this. And what I'm going to ask you to show today or talk about today would be 9 or 10 pages from this course. It is not the entire course, and I can give that to any coach that emails me. Perhaps even with a video, but this course is something that's essential for our quarterbacks and our coaches to know. And power positive passing, before I retired from coaching, we had a quarterback named Craig Akins who broke all the existing Virginia High School League passing records for touchdown passes. He threw 34 touchdown passes, I believe it was 1993, which is, of course, since it's been broken. But the other people that I've given this pass offense to have had tremendous success running this pass offense. So anyway, did you want to go to page 2 now?
Yes, sir.
All right. If you can show page 2 on there. I don't know how you would do that.
Page 2, Coach. Pro-style pass offense. Passing game must.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Now, you're going to probably have to scroll as I go along because I can only see about half that page.
Yes, sir.
All right. Passing game must. Now, this is what we call precision passing. Excuse me. Precision passing. And it's out of 11 and 12 personnel, both from 11 personnel, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers, and 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and 2 wide receivers, both from 2 by 2 and 3 by 1 personnel figurations. We call 2 by 2 doubles and 3 by 1 trips. 2 by 2, you got 2 guys on each side. 3 by 1, you got 3 on one side, 1 on the other. We can throw this from either under the center, from the pistol, or the gun. There's no change in our pass offense. We don't use 10 personnel, which is 1 running back, no tight ends, and 4 wide receivers, because we can't protect the passer very well from that. We can't run the ball very well from that. And I've noticed that in all the playoff games, college and pro actually, I see more 11 and 12 personnel than I do 10 and empty. But anyway, so as we go down to number 1, the passing game must, we feel like that we need to use the whole field horizontally and vertically. Horizontally meaning sideline to sideline, and vertically meaning goal line to goal line. And this is what people are referring to today as spacing concepts, or the use of spacing, getting your great receivers out in space. And that's what everybody talks about today. I know when LSU won the national championship in 2019 and Alabama won it in 2020, I believe it was, they talked about use the spacing ideas in the passing game. And that's what this means. Number 2, destroy all tendencies each week. And we do that without changing the passes at all, but we destroy the tendencies by the use of formations and motions. Motion is very important. We motion 50% of the time. Down in distance, we destroy tendencies. It's very important for us on first down. We feel like that we should run 50% of the time on first down and pass 50% of the time on first down. And the passes on first down predominantly come from play action, although we will drop back on first down. And we have a sheet, which is not on incidentally, about what we want to do on second down, second long, medium short, third long, medium short. but that's not on here. But basically, I have that. I can give it to anybody who wants it. But basically, we're talking about on first down being 50-50 run and pass. But then when we get to number 3, we call 40 to 50% passes in the game. Probably the better teams, the best team I've coached, we ran 59% of the time and threw 41% of the time. But we say we call 40 to 50% passes per game. And we also have that broken down. And I might add that we drop back pass 80% of the time. The other 20% of the time, we have some play actions and some quarterbacks on a dash, which is like a sprint move. But we have a breakdown. If we're going to throw the ball, let's say hypothetically, we threw the ball 24 times in a game. We would want 4 of those 24 to be deep passes, 12 of them to be medium range passes in the 12-yard range, and 8 of them to be short passes in the 6-yard range. So we don't want to throw deep all the time or intermediate all the time or short all the time. So if we were to throw 24 passes in a game, we would strive to throw 4 deep, 12 medium range, and 8 short. And we think this is important. All these things I'm talking about are important to us in terms of the power of positive passing. Number 4, we will use all 6 eligible receivers, including the quarterback. Nobody in man coverage, nobody's assigned to the quarterback. And we have passes where he will toss the ball and he drift out to the other side, and the running back will take like 3 steps to the right and pull it and throw it back to the quarterback on the left. And that's been very effective using the quarterback in the among the other eligible receivers. Then it says we use shifts, motions, and formations to reveal and create zone of man weaknesses. If you notice in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, I think they won the game through their use of motion. Twice they put a man in motion and reversed his motion and brought him back. Nobody covered, and they just dumped the ball to him. He scored 2 times. It was brilliant. Philadelphia had no concept of how to handle the Kansas City Chiefs motions. You can look on YouTube and get the highlights of the game and see those. But we use shifts a little bit, motions 50% of the time, and formations to reveal and create zone of man weaknesses. If you put a man in motion, they can tell you real quick whether there's zone of man. If nobody runs with him, it probably zone. If somebody runs with him, it probably man. That's really important. Like I said, it's something that everybody's doing now. And number 6 is throw the ball off of different actions, 3 and 5-step dropbacks if you're under center. Now, if you're not under center, the 3-step drop is to your ball and throw it, and the 5-step drop is to catch it and take 3 steps and throw it. But anyway, 3 and 5-step dropbacks, dash, which is kind of a drop roll or sprint type action, and then play action passes. Then use screens and draws, of course, to complement the running game. Can you raise that up higher for Roman numeral 2?
Yes, sir.
All right. Take that up so I can see Roman numeral 2 on the screen. Yeah, keep it there. Drop back down so I can see A. Bring it back so I can see A at the top.
All right.
Yeah, there. Drop-back game plan must include the following concepts. Our concepts, hold it, you passed it there, take it back. Just Roman numeral 2. A little more, take it up.
Opposite?
No, just go up.
Is that good right there? You see 2?
No, you're still on 1. Let me see 2. There, that's it. Hold it. All right, drop-back game plan must include these concepts. To us, a concept is if a pass fits into the quarterback's reads. And the quarterback's ability to read defenses, of course, is instrumental in beating someone. So we only have these reads. We have a horizontal stretch from inside out, that's laterally, in each half of the field. We have a horizontal stretch from outside in each half of the field. Now, let me clarify that. If we want to throw a horizontal stretch progressing the quarterback reading from inside out, that would be anytime the wide receiver runs an in-breaking route, curl, for example. We progress it. That's a horizontal stretch concept. We progress it inside out to that half of the field. And I'll get into how we determine what half to throw it to in a minute. If we horizontal stretch from outside in, that's when the wide receiver runs an out-breaking route in each half of the field, like double sidelines. You have to progress outside in, because if you progressed inside out, he'd be out of bounds by the time you progress to him. And these things are instrumental. If that quarterback can learn this A, B, C, and D, then he can read any defense we play against and know where to go with the ball. And of course, that is utmost importance. C, vertical stretch, long, intermediate, short, in each third of the field. We might vertically stretch the outside third of the field, the middle third, or the other outside third. And you vertical stretch defenses, of course, when there are two levels of defense. You have the secondary and the linebackers. But if you throw a vertically stretched pass, you've got three levels of receivers against two levels of defense. And obviously, you outnumber them. In all of these, we strive to outnumber the defense. In the horizontal stretches, if you're playing cover 3 or 4 under, we'll send 5 guys out, and we've got you 5 on 4 underneath. In vertical stretches, say you're playing cover 2, where we like that, we will send a receiver deep. You go 18 yards or deeper, another guy 12 yards deep, and another guy in the flat near the line of scrimmage. And now we've got 3 guys on 2 levels of coverage, which is the safety in the corner in cover 2. So in all of these, A, B, and C, we're striving to outnumber the defense either horizontally or vertically. And D, man beaters. This is primarily our best receiver against your weakest defender. If we can get the matchup we want, we'll just concentrate on him. He becomes what you might call, what people call an object receiver read for the quarterback. It's just a one-on-one. So these concepts for us means quarterback read concepts. And each pass fits into a quarterback read concept. And there are only 4. Okay, if you can show me all of cover 3 now. I'm sorry, number 3, blitz starts.
There you go.
All right. We use 7-man. That's a hold it. Oh, you're going too far. Protection, which means we have 3 receivers taken off and 2 others checking blitz before they go out. But that's a quick check, and we normally try to get 5 guys out. And we do that to encounter all potential rushes. Now, B is important under that. We work twice as much versus their blitz as they actually use, the percentages in a game. If you blitzed 10% of the time, let's say you blitz 15% of the time, we spend 30% of our practice time that week against the blitz, because that's so important. All right, now if you can go up so I can read all of number 4, take it up a little higher. Take it up to the dotted lines there. All right, whoa. Yeah, come back down. Come down a little bit. Come a little more. Come on down where I can read the title of the heading. Above protection. Bring it down. Troy.
Yeah.
Bring it down a little more so where it has Roman numeral 4 shows.
Yeah, I got
there. All right there. No, wait a minute now. Yeah, you got it. Roman numeral 4. Vital factors to success in this is in a sequence. The very first thing we want to know on every pass we call is if that protection is set to the proper side to make sure that we get 5 receivers out. In our pass protection, which is to fan big on the call side and to just base solid on the back side, and I'll get to that later. If you don't put that to the right side, and for us, the right side, it works out that if we play on a cover 3 team and we put call and protection to the side of the strong safety, because that's where the outside backer is blitzing from. Our cover 2 team, we put the protection call to the side of the weak corner, because that's where the outside backer is coming from. That Lawrence Taylor thing the Giants used to do. If we do that, then we can normally get our protection set where we'll get all 5 receivers out. But if we put our protection to the wrong side, we could lose receivers in the progression. And that's something that would be a whole nother lecture, actually, which I would be glad to do. But it's so important because we want to always set our protection to the right side so that we can get 5 receivers out. If you draw your protection against the teams you're going to play and you're not getting 5 guys out. Again, this is primarily cover 3 teams that have 4 underneath and they rush 4. And we have methods of handling cover 2 teams that have 5 under and rush 4. But if you don't set the protection to the proper side, you're going to lose receivers, and that's something that we don't want to do, because we want to be able to get the horizontal and vertical stretches by getting all 5 receivers out. Now, if they're going to rush more than 4 people, we might lose a potential receiver in the blitz pickup, but they'll lose a defender as well. So anyway, go down to number 2, direction. The next thing that we want to know, on each pass we call, if I send a pass in from the sidelines or the press box, hold it right there. I send a pass in from the sidelines or the press box. First thing, I want to know if we got the protection call to the right side. The next thing, I want to determine the direction of the pass. If it's a horizontal stretch, which half of the field are we going to attack? If it's a vertical stretch pass, which third of the field are we going to attack? And we have reads, quarterback reads, that tell us how to do that. If you want to switch, if you can switch to page 5, if you can switch to page 5, it will show that direction of the throw. In fact, if you could do that right now, please do.
Page 5.
Yeah, page 5. Because that shows the direction of the throw. Just scroll it.
All right, my fault. Hold on, Coach. All right, it should be there now.
Well, I don't see it right now.
You're a little bit behind.
All right, there we go. All right. Direction of throw. Purpose to throw away from a secondary coverage. Now, this is an example, and you will need to. This example is how we would determine the progression of the throw against a cover 3. Take it up a little bit higher. We would draw a line down the middle of the field and count the secondary defense. Gone too far. Come on back there. The other way. Go back the other way. That's good. Leave it there. We would draw a line down the center of the field and count the defenders on. Whoa, that's good. Hold it. So if we draw a line down the middle of the field and we count the defenders on either side of the line, there we're in a double right formation, which is where we start off. And I might add, that's 12 personnel, because you have 2 wide, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, X and Z, and 2 tight ends, H and Y. I might also add real quick here that H for us is a tight end off the ball. We want him off the ball so we can use him in motion, because his motion means so much to us. And we always started off, as a side note, in putting a great athlete at H. That was the Art Jimerson at Deep Creek, played for the Oakland Raiders. The James Farrior at Matoka, who played for, of course, the Steelers. The Byron Thweet at Matoka, who played for the Tennessee Titans and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Or the Matt Farrior, who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or at Carolina, we had Marcus Mines, who set all kinds of rushing records at VMI, and he did not go to the pros, but still, he was the fastest of the bunch. But anyway, so we're drawing a line down the middle of the formation. And if that H-back were to flex out 5 yards to his left, I'll go ahead half the way towards X, we would now be in 11 personnel. But if he comes back in, just say 2 feet outside that tackle, we're in 12 personnel. And just by moving that one guy, either by alignment or motion, we get all these different things we want to do. And I'll get into the reasons later why we prefer 11 personnel to 12 or vice versa. There are reasons for that are very important. But anyway, getting back to this. So we've got 1.5 defenders on the X side, that being the corner and counting the weak safety as 1. And we've got 2.5 defenders on the flanker side, which is the weak safety is 1.5, the strong safety is 1, and the strong corner, who's behind my shoulder, you can't see it, as 2. So it's 1.5 left, 2.5 right. Therefore, we're going to attack the left side of that coverage. So that's an example of what we do in direction of the throw. Take it up to the very next page. Go to the very next page, which would be page 6. Keep going.
Direction of throw examples.
Go to page. That's it. Oh, whoa. All right. Now here's some examples of the direction of the throw. In that top left example, they're in cover 3, and the straw has 2.5 guys to the right, 1.5 guys to the left. We're gonna throw to the left where that shaded circle is, and to the right, that's a cover 3 where they've got 2.5 defenders to the split end side and 1.5 defenders to the tight end side. We're gonna throw to the right over there where that shaded oval is. They go up to the next one. Go up to the next diagram. Take it up. I hope. All right, that's cover 6, which means cover 2 on the left and cover 4 on the right. You see, no, wait a minute, you've lost the top of the secondary. You can back down just a little bit. Come on back down a little bit. You've lost my secondary.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind you because there's a
That's all right. All right, so that's cover 6, which you see a ton of that right now. Somebody was saying the other day that a lot of that was played in the Super Bowl. But anyway, say cover 6, you're in cover 2 to the left, half coverage, and cover 4 on the right, which is quarter coverages. Well, in that, we would prefer to throw the ball to the right, where they've got an off corner being more vulnerable, the wide receiver getting free access release, than on the left where you've got a hard corner and the wide receiver is being contested coming off the ball. Going up one more so I can see note. Take it up to the next diagram to the bottom there. These are just examples of direction of where to throw it. All right, that's cover 2. Now, cover 2, they bring 2 defensive back, an extra 2 defensive backs down. So the weak areas are the 3 receivers versus the 2 deep defenders. So now they don't have 4 underneath, which is what we want to attack against cover 3 and cover 4. Now they've got 5 underneath defenders. The corner, the 3 triangles in the other corner. That's 5 underneath defenders, but only 2 safeties high. So now instead of attacking across the field underneath, we're going to attack deep in the deep area behind that left corner, in the deep area between the 2 safeties, and the deep area between the right safety and the right corner. Okay. Now, if you don't mind, get me back to page 2. Get me back on page 2, if you don't mind. I hate to have to jump around like this, but there's no other way to do it. Yeah, that's good right there. Hold it. Are the listeners able to print this off the site, or do they have to would prefer to email me to get a copy of all this?
They can email you, Coach. Your email's on the screen. They can't print it off the site, right? Well, they can just watch it and write it down, but no, they can't. They can't print it off the video. They can just email you.
It's 10 pages. It might be a lot to write down, but I'll be glad to send this to any coach who emails me. Or if they want to discuss it, it's better if they call. Okay, Roman numeral 5, syncing the quarterback and receiver's timing. Timing of the pass. All right, now that puts us to page 2, how we time passes. It's on page 2 there. Bring it on up.
Pro style pass offense, the timing of delivery is essential.
Right there. Hold it. All right, the timing of the delivery is essential. It is the single most important item to successful passing. Sid Gilman, father of the passing game, Don Coryell, who was just put into the NFL Hall of Fame this week, both said that the single most important factor in passing is the timing. Each route has its own timing, their distinct timing. As routes and patterns are developed on the field, the exact point of the delivery will be emphasized. Take mental notes on the field on the timing of the throw. Now here's very important, number 4. If you, the quarterback, cannot coordinate eye and arm to get the ball at its intended spot properly and on time, you are not a passer. Now, in evaluating your quarterbacks, number 4 is crucial, because you're going to stopwatch a quarterback and you're going to run the routes. But if they can't get the ball where it's supposed to be, when it's supposed to be there, you better find another quarterback. And some of the things you have to stress there is keeping the ball in both hands chest high. That's part of the answer, because then you can take it back and let it go real quick. But 6, generally speaking, the proper timing of any pass is putting the ball in the air before or as the receiver goes into his final break. If you wait until the receiver's into his final move, you're too late. I heard Bobby Bowden say one time that if a receiver sees the ball being thrown, it's too late. The ball should be on the way before the receiver looks for it. And that's what we strive to do. Now, here's some of the coaching points. Hold it right there. Some of the coaching points we look for in teaching this. We have found that, and this, all receivers, even the fast and the slow ones, this pretty much holds true. But if you give a receiver a second to get out of his stance or get started, then he can get a yard for every tenth of a second after that. So if a guy's going to run a 5-yard out, he can get there and break in 1.5. If he runs, if he's going to run a 10-yard out, he can do it 2.0. If he runs a 15-yard comeback, he can do that in 2.5. So therefore, we've got to sync the quarterbacks with that receiver. And looking at that, these examples are under center, but this can be timed up with a pistol and the gun as well. Number one, the quarterback's taught to set a 3-step drop in 1.3. And that'll time out well with a 5-yard out because he can release the ball before the receiver breaks in 1.5. 2, the quarterback is taught to throw a 5-step drop pass in 1.8. That's how long it takes him to get back and get set. This times out well with a 10-yard out because he can release the ball and the receiver breaks in 2.0. And number 3, the quarterback is taught to throw a 7-step drop. We don't use 7-step drops anymore. In 2.3, this times out with a 15-yard comeback because he can release the ball before the receiver breaks in 2.5. And us following that page, and that comes from the great minds of all times in football, following that page, it goes back to the title of this whole talk, which is the power, goes back to the whole topic of the talk, the power of precision passing. And this page is instrumental in that. And then we have what we call as a golden rule for rhythm passing. A golden rule means that he who has the goal will rule. Anyway, to us, this is that the quarterback must be set 2 steps before the receiver makes his final break. We teach everything on steps. When you grade the film the next day, you can count. For example, the quarterback's taking 5 steps. You're talking to the wide receiver. The quarterback's taking 5 steps, and if you take 5 and you took 5, but you took 7, but no matter there's a rhythm button there. Let me repeat that. I got my tongue twisted. Hey, wide receiver, the quarterback's taking a 3-step drop. I told you to take a 5-step, run a 5-step route because we want you to take 2 more steps than the quarterback took. But you took 7, and no matter the timing wasn't there. And see, that's where we can tell by film where the breakdown is. Go up a little higher, this right at the bottom of the page. Take it up where there's writing at the bottom of the page. It should be writing at the bottom of that page. That's why I want to show that.
All right, it should be right now.
Right there. Oh, right there. So if we're on the center and the quarterback takes a 3-step drop, we expect him to be set up in 0.8 of a second and to let the ball go at 1.3 if he's throwing it on time, or 1.8 if he has to hold on to it a little bit, like let's say a fade route occurs. The quarterback takes 5 steps. We expect him to be set at 1.3. We want him to throw it at 1.8 if it's a timing route, where he's going to let the ball go as soon as he sets up. Or 1.3 if he has to hold on to the ball a little bit because a curl route didn't get in the right seam. So that he's got on a 3-step drop, he's got to get it out from 1.3 to 1.8, and then a 5-step drop, he's got to get it out from 1.8 to 2. That's 2.3. That's not a 1.3. That's a 2.3. 2.3. Now you might notice everything is by half-second increments. You go to the first one. The set's 0.8. First throw, the quickest throw 1.3. That's 0.5 of a second. Latest throw is 1.8. It's 5 more tenths of a second. So if you go to the 5-step drop, he's set in 1.3. The quickest he might throw is 1.8, 0.5 of a second. And the latest he might throw is 2.3, which is another 0.5 of a second. So everything's set in increments of a half a second. Now, let me see. What's next? Go to the next page.
That's the final page of that. That's page 3. You need to go to page 4.
You have page 4. You have page 4.
Yeah, I got page 4.
Or go to page 4.
Passing game must.
Yeah, well, let me see that. And No. Page 4 is the rules for the system, the chart with the formation.
Okay.
That was on the original set.
All right.
I sent you page 4.
All right. It's got the rules for the system.
Yeah, and the diagram. Here they are. Hey, bring it back. I hope. All right. Let me see the top of the page. I don't see the top of the page. Bring it down a little bit. All right. Drop back pass offense, rules for the system. I'm not going to get into this. I have a write-up on this. We had 8 basic passes and listed down here. And I had a write-up on every pass, a separate write-up on each of the 8 passes that we give to the quarterback. Hold it there. Separate write-up on each of these 8 passes that we give to the quarterback. And I would send that out to anybody that wants them. I didn't put them on here because it would take forever just to take one pass and go through all of his reads and all. But anyway, the rule for the system is this. It's based on outside and inside receivers, regardless of what formation we're in. So the outside and inside receiver to the call, say we call a pass to the right. We call a pass to the right. Outside and inside receiver to the call side, they have free releases, and they run whatever pattern we call. Now, another system's a little different. I don't advise anybody to copy it, but for us, for example, a 2 routes a post by the outside receiver, a 4 routes a sideline, a 6 routes a curl, and 8 routes a post, that kind of thing. But anyway, the outside receiver to the call side and the inside receiver to the call side run the pattern call. And the pattern's all on the chart, which you can raise it in a minute. The outside receiver away from the call, in this case, if we're calling it right, that would be X. He would mirror the route of the outside receiver on the call side. I'm a big believer in mirroring routes, almost all of our routes, because that way, when you determine the direction of the pass, and let's say if we call the pass, but the defense tells us to throw the pass to the left, the quarterback already has a picture in his mind of what pattern is on the left side. That's another key point. On every pass you call, the quarterback must know where all 5 receivers are. He cannot have any doubts to where all 5 receivers are. So we have the mirror concept, which means it's 2 outside receivers are mirroring routes. So we call the pass right, and the defense directs us to throw left, and with a trigger read, triggers us to one side or the other. Then we know what's going to be on the back side and where they are, and timing-wise when they're going to come open. All right, take it up a little higher so I can see C down, the inside receiver. Move it up some. All right, the inside receiver away from the call, he's going to check release and run the same pattern as the inside receiver to the call, except that he's got a check out rather than free release. The only exception of that is on an 8-9 route, you run a flat. And the R back is going to check release to the call side, which means he's going to check blitz and then go out. The R back is instrumental for us in picking up blitzes. The big blitz that people like now, that double A-gap blitz where they have 2-3 techniques on the guards and they walk those 2 backers down in the A-gap, our back's responsible for that call side A-gap blitz, and I'll get into protection later. I've actually done one of 2 things. I'll either move the R back up behind that right guard at the same depth as the quarterback, and you just attack that linebacker, that A-gap, or either move the R back over to the right behind the guard, 5 yards deep, move the quarterback back in something like a pistol or a gun. But either way, the R back's got to pick up, there's blitz to pick up, whether it's A-gap, B-gap, C-gap off the edge to the call side. And then it's take that up to where it starts a 60 series. And once again, I advise coaches to use their own numbering system because ours is kind of from way back when. But the great Florida State and Brigham Young teams back in the 90s did this. The 60 series for us, quarterback takes a 3-step drop. If you don't use 30s for the running game, I would call that the 30 series. But we 30 to us means a run with the R back. But anyway, let's just say the 60 series, which could be called 30 series because that would denote a 3-step drop. So in the 60 series, the quarterback takes a 3-step drop, and the receivers break it approximately 6 yards. That's a wide receivers. Break it approximately 6 yards. And the other receivers run complementary patterns, of course, which are listed. And in the 50 series, the quarterback takes a 5-step drop, and the receivers break it 12 yards. And here are the combinations. So if we call 60 or 61 pass, 60 means it's the same pass to the right, and 61 means the same pass to the left. And somebody said, well, why do you have two numbers for that same pass? It's just like if you call an off-tackle play to the right 26 and you call an off-tackle play to the left 27 in the running game. We use that same concept in the passing game. This pass to the right would be 60, and this pass to the left would be 61, no matter what the formation was. So if you call 60 pass, the inside receiver's going to run a hitch, the outside receiver runs a hitch, and the running back runs a circle, which is just a release over the ball 4 or 5 yards deep and sit down over the ball. 60 up, 61 up. If you ran one of them, the inside receiver runs a seam route up a hash, the outside receiver runs an up or a deep go, and the arm back runs his circle route. If you ran a 60, let's just skip down, you run a 56, 57 pass, the inside receiver runs a flat, outside receivers run curl, and the running back runs a circle. I won't go down all this, but hold it right there. That's our 8 basic passes. And we've lived with that for, my gosh, years and years, and it still works fine. I know there are 2 high schools in the last 2 or 3 years that have featured this pass offense in the Richmond area that have had the best seasons in the school's history. And I'm not going to mention the names of the schools or the coaches because that might be giving something away. But I'm talking about school. You know the schools I'm talking about that have used this pass offense to beat the best teams in the Richmond area recently.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go up to the next page. Go on to the very next page.
Direction of throw?
Yeah, just take it by a minute. Now, we talked about this a minute ago. We talked about the direction of the throw. As once you set your progression, the next thing that we want to know is to what side of the field is the quarterback going to throw. I might add this. You hear a lot of talk about full field passing. And in the air raid system, which I don't use, the full field passing is they read 5 receivers across the field. Nobody. I heard Fran Tarkington. He said one time that no quarterback's got that kind of patience. I mean, that kind of vision or time. So we're a full field passing team, but we're going to let the defense tell us what segment of the field to throw the ball in. It could be when we come up to the line, we could call a pass, and it could end up. If the secondary tells us to throw right, that's where it's going. Secondary tells us to throw left, that's where it's going. We have the option of throwing to the full field, but we've got to read the defense to determine that. So by the snap of the ball, we're either going to throw, if we go to the call side, we'll have 3 receivers out if they all get out, at least 2. And if we throw to the away from the call side, we'll have 2 receivers out, or at least 1, depending on who blocks who. All right, go to the very next page. Actually, go 2 pages forward. We've talked about this direction of the throw. Something so important, but go 2 pages. Keep going. Next one. Next one. All right, we have to keep going. There. All right. Come down a little bit so I can see the title on the page. Bring it back down some, Troy.
Yeah, directional trigger reads, 50 series.
Yeah, hold it. Hold it. Yeah. Now, we say that we can attack the entire field, but we have to look at a trigger to determine which half of the field, if we're doing a horizontal stretch, or which third of the field we're going to attack. Because when we come to the line of scrimmage, it could be anywhere, but we have to have a trigger read to tell us where we're going with the ball, to which half or which third are we going. And we want to have that determined. These are post-snap reads. We want to know this by the quarterback's second step away from center in his drop. And we have, as I said, we have 3 concepts of reads, and it says below, on a horizontal stretch, we're going to progress him inside out, but we have to trigger read off the Mike linebacker because he's the linebacker that always controls the strength of the underneath coverage. Now, he would be the middle linebacker in a 4-3 the first linebacker on the side away from the call in a 34. And we're going to look at him, and we're going to progress off of his drop. For example, if the middle linebacker goes straight back to the call, we're going to go away from the call. If the middle linebacker goes away from the call or blitzes, we're going to go to the call. So the Mike linebacker is that trigger read, and I'll draw this in a minute. But in that, if we were running a horizontal stretch progressing from inside out, we're going to progress from the hook zone, if you know the zones of the football field, to the curl zone, to the flat zone. And we say there are 6 underneath zones. There are 2 hooks, 2 curls, 2 flats. And we're trying to get 5 guys out against 4. So we're going to progress from the hook zone to the curl zone to the flat zone. Now, B says horizontal stretch from outside in. Now the Mike linebacker does not determine so much where you're going to, if you're progressing outside. He determines pretty much what you're going to do when you progress inside. So the trigger read here is at the weak safety. And he takes us to one half the field of the other, just like the Mike linebacker did on the inside-out horizontal stretch. But now we're in the outside-in horizontal stretch. So the quarterback's going to progress from the flat zone to the curl zone to the hook zone because we're reading back the other way. Instead of going hook to curl to flat, we're reading flat to curl to hook. And that's an order in which we look for our receivers. And generally, it's orders in which the receivers come open. Or take it up, Troy, so I can see under that. Move it up a little.
You want to go to trigger reads versus 50 series?
Just move it up to the neck bottom half of that page. Whoa. Hold it. No. You've cut off something. Come on in. Now hold it. All right there. Now, if we vertical stretch from long to intermediate to short, that means deep. No, I don't think you leave me there. Go up a little bit. Go up just a little bit so I can see. Just take it up to where C is at the top. A little more. Oh, give me C again. Give me C.
You don't see C?
No, I just see progress. C is on top of progress.
All right. You see that?
No, I just see progress. I want to go back up. No, the other right there. Hold it. All right. Wait a minute. Hold it. C, vertical stretch. We're looking from deep, 18 yards or deeper, intermediate, 12-yard range, short, somewhere near the line of scrimmage. The trigger read now is a weak safety, and he's going to take us to 1/3 of the field of the other. And the quarterback will progress always from long to short. So he looks for the deep route first. He's going to blow the top off the coverage. Then we're going to go to the intermediate route on the short route. Generally, if it were against cover 2, that would be off the corner who has the flat. Take it up a little bit more so you can see the triggers just a little bit. Take it up just a little bit so we can show them the triggers. Whoa. All right, so the trigger read on the vertical stretches and the horizontal stretches where the receivers make out-breaking routes, that's going to be that weak safety. We refer to him as the best located safety. He generally, on all defenses, is a safety that will give the coverage away more than the other safety. We read safeties, not the corners. Corners can mess with you and give you false reads. They can line up on the ball and they bail out, or they line up deep and come up, or they cheat inside or outside. Corners can lie, but the safeties don't lie. So we read safeties instead of corners, unless we're reading a Mike backer. So on 56 and 57 pass, which is an in-breaking route by the wide receiver, the quarterback reads the Mike backer. Take that up to where it says 56, 57 pass. Move it up a little bit to where it shows 56 and 57 pass. Well, right there. All right. The quarterback trigger reads the Mike backer. If he goes straight back towards the call, we're going to go away from the call side. If he blitzes or goes to the call side, away from the call side, we're going to go to the call side and follow that progression, hook to curl to flat. This page is pretty much our quarterback read system. Take it up a little bit so I can read 2 there. All right, hold it. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 58, 59 passes. They're out-breaking or deep routes by the wide receiver. The quarterback now will trigger read the weak safety. If he stays in the middle of the field or goes towards the call, we're going to go away. The call's on the other side. That to us is full field passing. But if he goes away from the call side, we're going to the call side, and we follow the progression. That whole page really is our whole quarterback read system, and I can teach that to our quarterbacks. Every pass we run is going to fall into those categories, and for us, that's a simple way to teach this, and it's effective, and it still holds up. I know a lot of great NFL quarterbacks still do it this way. But anyway, take it on up to the next page. Go to the very next page, which will be our right there. Now, remember I said that after we have determined the direction of the pass, this was on page 1. I'm sorry, after we have determined the progression, setting the progression on a pass properly, and then we determine the direction of the pass, where we're going to throw the ball, the next thing has to be a progression of receivers. Now, this is all, we teach it, this offense in this method, and our quarterbacks learn it in this method. We have a quarterback school that goes on from mid-January to mid-May every year, and we teach all this stuff. We go through it in the gym, and when the weather breaks, we go inside, and we go through all this in the spring. And I don't give a darn for the Virginia High School League's rules saying you can't coach this in the out of season, you can't coach that. You know, if a kid wants to learn something, they ought not be able to tell them when you can teach it to them. I had a coach tell me the other day that they have a 2-week period where they can't lift weights for 2 weeks. Who the hell tells a kid he can't lift weights? You don't tell a kid you can't go lift weights. Some god in the Virginia High School League trying to determine what a kid can and can't do on his free time. Anyway, so a progression read is designed to have 1, 2, or 3 choices of where to go with the ball. For us, it's usually 2 or 3. We have 2 guys in the progression if we go away from the call, and 3 guys in the progression if we go to the call. It is important to pre-read the coverage to give you an indication of the coverage, but more importantly, it's knowing where the receivers are going to be with the progression read pattern call. This calls from throwing the ball with rhythm drops. You might get to the 3rd receiver in the progression as soon as your 5th step hits in the drop. So when you're stepping forward to throw, you can hit that 3rd receiver in the progression on the same rhythm you would as if you were throwing to the 1st receiver in the progression. Give us that diagram now. As an example of that 56 all curl pass, which is huge on cover 3. You know, we play cover 3 teams. And I put this pass offense in 1964, and I can tell you what, cover 3 still hasn't stopped it. If you put the protection to the right side, direct to the right side, and follow the progression. So that 56 all curl is a sit route by the tight end, or another way of calling it, a little bit of kind of a curl over the ball, a flat route by the running back, and a curl flanker. The progression would be, if we call that pass and the direction read says go right, we're going to look first for the tight end, second for the flanker, and 3rd for the running back. We're progressing hook zone, curl zone, flat zone, inside out. And we don't look, after we get the direction of the throw, we don't look at it anymore as defenders. We look at throwing lanes. So if we're going to number 1, if there's an open throwing lane between the quarterback and the tight end, he throws it. The linebacker split, lets it go out. If there's somebody between him and the tight end, he looks for the flanker. If there's nobody in the throwing lane between him and the flanker, he throws it. But if there's somebody underneath the route to the flanker, say the strong safety, then he doesn't throw it. He'll go to number 3, the R back. And if they're playing 4 under all 3 of those, there's no way that all 3 of them will be covered. Because the corner's going to back off when the flanker goes 12, 14 yards deep. And you're going to have a play side linebacker and a flat cover man to take 3 receivers. Take that up a little higher so I can read the writing at the bottom of the page. Go on up. Give me the bottom half of the page. All right, well, right there. Right there. Well, so remember this, when you're throwing progressions, you may not get to the 2nd or 3rd receiver because Y might be open every time, and he's the first guy in the progression. And the key to the progression reads is to always stay with your progression and never pass up the first receiver that you come across as open, even on 3rd down. Even if that doesn't get you the first down, you don't pass up an open receiver in the progression. And what we refer to as an elimination rule is that once you have eliminated a receiver in your progression, you never go back to it. You stay on rhythm. Now here you look Y to Z to R, and none of them's open. You better, by then your time has run out. You either better throw the ball over the flank out of bounds or run it straight ahead, take whatever yards you can get. We don't like to take losses. But anyway, go to the next page, please. More on progression. All of these things are so important. You notice I didn't put hold it, give me the top of the page. All right. I didn't give the sheets on the 8 passes with the quarterback's reads on all 8 passes, the detail, because we would not have time to go all of that. But I would be glad to send it to anybody who contacts me. That we have 1 page per pass showing the pass itself and with the quarterback's instructions. But anyway, still on progression receivers. We strive to have the quarterback complete his progression read and be prepared to deliver the ball as the last step of a drop hits the ground. And I talked about these 3 progression reads earlier. The horizontal stretch, take it up. The horizontal stretch, progressing inside out. The horizontal stretch, progressing outside in. And the vertical stretch, hold it. The vertical stretch, progressing long to short. And then once again, the elimination rule. All right, the last thing I wanted to go over today was the pass protection. Briefly, this in itself should be another lecture. It really should. But take it on up to the next page. Give me the top of the page for pass progression. Just keep going. All right, show me the top. All right, there you go. All right. No, wait a minute. Give me the top of that page.
You want the diagrams?
Yeah, I want the top of that page, the very top.
Man blocking rules?
Very top of, right there. All right. The top left is against a 5-2, and I haven't changed that, but today most people refer to that as a 34. The top right's against a 4-3. The bottom left is against a 6-1, which would be kind of a pro 4-3, and the bottom right's against a split 6 look, split 4 look, which that double A gap blitz from that split 4 look is huge in the NFL right now and has to be addressed. But anyway, if you can look at these rules, here on all of these, the call is to the right. That's the call side. Let's say we've got the H-back. Let's take that top left diagram, 5-2. On the right side, the H-back, let's say is free releasing. He would be right outside that right tackle, about where Fan is, so the end in Fan. So he's going out for a pass. All right. So the blocking rule is this. The right tackle blocks the second man on the line. Let's go back in. No, we'll do outside. Right tackle blocks second man on the line of scrimmage from inside out. That's the E. Right guard blocks first man on the line of scrimmage from inside out. Not number 1 and number 2, but second man, first man. Don't say number 1, number 2. Second man, first man. So they fan block. Now for the center back, we're going to put that's the 4-man side of the defense from the center back. You got 4 men, counting the nose. We're going to number those guys for man blocking. That's just basic, straight, solid man blocking. Just like you told a kid, block the guy in front of you. So the center's got 0, left guard's got 1, left tackle's got 2, tight end's got 3. He's going to check release on 3. So the right side, right guard, right tackle, and the H-back's over there in this case. Could be the tight end with the H on the other side. It doesn't matter. The H-back's on the right side. He free releases. Right guard, right tackle, block. First man on line, second man on line. The running back has the man in the triangle. That's where the blitz pickup comes in. Our running back is huge in that pass protection. If that man blitzes, the running back's got to block him and block him at the line of scrimmage. We just fire up there and take him just like you lead blocking on an ISO, for example. But running back's got the man in the triangle. Now, from the center back, they just get base number blocking. Essentially, it's man on away from the call. Center's got the nose. He's 0. Left guard's got the linebacker. He's number 1. Everybody knows how to number defenders. Left tackle's got man on him. That's number 2. Tight end's got the man on him or outside shade, number 3. Now, if you go over to the right, it's the same thing. The right guard and right tackle got first on line, second on line. Center's got 0, guard's got 1, left tackle's got 2, tight end's got 3. and so on and so forth. I don't have to go through all of these. And the running back's got the man in the triangle. We use this protection and both have 3- and 5-step games. And in the 3-step game, you might want to take them on the on both of these, you would take them on the line of scrimmage. We don't back off. We don't drop back unless you're uncovered. I'll get into that in a minute. But let's just say that in the 3-step game, you just attack the guy. In the 5-step game, just make a quick set and take him on right there. It really doesn't matter if you attack them. It's better perhaps that in the 5-step game, it's better not to fire into him. It's better maybe just to take a quick set and take him. Take away his inside. But on the 3-step game, you may fire into the guy. All right, give me the bottom half of the page now. I could do a whole 1-hour lecture on this, on calling this to the proper side. That's what's key. How to call this protection so you get 5 guys out. Give me where it says covered down at the bottom half of the page. I hope. The uncovered man on all of these goes, wait a minute now. Uncovered man is going to set 1 yard deep next to the inside adjacent lineman. Now, if you're the left guard, you're uncovered. You set 1 yard deep next to the center. So if the linebacker comes to either side, you can block him. If he goes to the other side, you can just slide around behind the center and pick him up. So anyway, so if you're covered lineman in all these, we begin the battle on the line of scrimmage. We don't back off. The covered man. If you're uncovered, we'll set 1 yard deep next to your inside adjacent covered offensive lineman, so that if the linebacker comes to either side, you can block him, and if he goes to the opposite side, you can slide around behind the center and pick him up. This is very important. If he drops, you can help the adjacent offensive lineman. This way, we always try to provide as center help against a good nose guard. I've seen great nose guards just destroy a center. It's like that nose guard you had at Meadowbrook in 2004. When a center of Virginia could block him. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When a center of the state of Virginia could block that nose guard you had at Meadowbrook in 2004, and you won a state championship with him just killing people.
Yes, sir.
So we seek double teams in pass protection, and that's how we get them. That if our guard if our guard's man drops, he's going to help the center on the nose. And that's hugely important. So anyway, what are there any questions, or where would you like to go from here? Because I haven't put the passes on here.
Yeah, Coach. I think today this is good. You did an hour, and we'll come back. If you want to do one on the weekend, we'll do one on the weekend.
Yeah, Saturday would be the best day, probably.
Yeah, we'll do one on Sunday.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we'll do one on Sunday. What do you want to talk about on Sunday?
Well, let me think about that, because I can either take each pass individually and go through them one by one as a follow-up on this, or I could get into more depth on protection. I couldn't do both of those in one day.
I would say you just do hitch, slant, and up, Coach. Can you go through all of them?
What's that?
The quick game?
Well, yeah, but we only had 3 passes in a quick game. That would probably I could might be not enough for me to talk about in one session. I could probably get through that and go on to the 5-step game.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I can either do each of the 8 individual passes, and there are only 8.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to tag some of them, extend the route. Or I could do setting the drop back protection, which is maybe least interesting but most important of all of this. Or I could get into another talk I have is how we select our formations, how we structure formations. We used to set all of our formations by the alignment of the H-back. And I could take James Farrior playing H-back, and I say, hey, James, next week we're going to put the formations in, and I'm going to put maybe 16 formations in one day. And you're going to be the one that's going to change on all of these, whether you line up as a wide receiver, as a tight end, whatever, H-back. And I'm going to give you a sheet showing all your locations. We're going to number them, and you be ready. So when I go out on the field, I have everybody come out and double right. But then I say, all right, James, show me where you would be in deuce. He'd go out to the left. Show me where you'd be in double. He'd go back outside the left tackle. Show me where you'd be in trips. He'd go over outside the tight end. Show me where you would be in train. He'd go out halfway towards the flanker. And then, all right, now we're going to make slot formations out of those. We're going to bring the wide receiver over to the same side, flanker over to the same side where you align, and line up halfway between you and the split end. Now, there's 8 more formations, left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And he could do that, and we could literally get anywhere 8 to 16 formations on the first day of practice just by moving James Farrior on half of them, and James Farrior and the flanker on the other half. The other 9 or 10 guys didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Then we would show him his motions. And here's something that if you could go back to page 4 and show the formation again just for a second. If you could get us back to that, I'll make one closing comment here that might be of interest. It's on page 4. Let's keep going. You see the formation. All right, you passed it now. All right, there. That's our base formation. If we moved, that's double. With flanker, you see where Farrior is at the inside receiver, H. If we moved him halfway out to X, that's deuce. If we move him in there where he shows here, that's double. If we moved him over to the right, just off the ball outside the tight end, that's trips. And if we moved him halfway out towards the flanker, that's train, T-R-A-I-N. Now, deuce and train would be 11 personnel. Double and trips would be 12 personnel. And somebody says, well, okay, well, when are you going to use them? If we played against a team and had 2 safeties deep, we would like to be in a double or trips, 12 personnel, because now they've got, if you count it, they've got 7 defenders up to defend 8 gaps. And so they got 2 safeties back there to cover 12, 14 yards deep, and we're in double. They've got 7 defenders to defend 8 gaps, and they're lacking in the running game. Now, if they bring one of those guys down in the box to have 1 safety high, then we would go to 11 personnel by moving Farrior out to the left and deuce over to the right, halfway out of train, because now we could take another guy out of the box because he's such a great athlete, and we flexed him out. And that was hugely important. When do we use? I didn't tell people this when I was playing against them. When are you going to use 11 personnel with 1 safety high? When are you going to use 12 personnel, 2 safeties high, deep? And that was so instrumental in this system. And we never told this to anybody. We had a method of disguising analysis. Let's say, for example, if you see where we are here in double right, and we want to run a pass, and we don't want to show them double right, we would line Farrior up, for example, over halfway between Y and Z on the right, and motion him back over there on a pass. And if you saw the Super Bowl Sundays, people are not handling motion well. Not only can you tell by motion if they're in man zone, but you can also tell, they're also going to have to check coverage. Secondaries hate to check coverage. Check left, check right, check 2, check 3, whatever. So if you use Farrior, inside receiver on the left and double, like I said, you line him up on the right, halfway out between Y and Z on the right, and motion him back over there and run a pass. That drives people crazy. And we have other ways too. We put the flanker over on the left, halfway between H and X, and now you're in what we call flood left. We motion him back to the right, back over there to where he is on the right, the outside receiver. See, that drove people crazy. We call that window dressing the passes. If we went into every ball game, we would window dress these passes. We wouldn't just show double as in this diagram and run the passes. We'd window dress the passes. We'd move usually Farrior, but sometimes the flanker all around and run the same identical passes as mentioned here. It would just drive people nuts. And I don't care what system people run today, air raids, running shoots, or whatever. It's been said that everybody today runs something that came from either Sid Gilman, Don Coryell, or Bill Walsh, and we do. That's all of that stuff came from those 3 guys. And the great Florida State teams copied Sid Gilman. The great Brigham Young teams copied Sid Gilman and Bill Walsh. So, I mean, it's all this other stuff. The air raid teams copied Brigham Young. Brigham Young copied Sid Gilman and Bill Walsh. Mummy would tell you that before he passed away, but not Mummy, Leach. I mean, but anyway, this system is so versatile. And once again, if you look at this diagram, that quarterback could be back in the pistol. It's back him up 4.5, 5 yards, and running backs another couple yards behind him. And the whole thing works beautifully from a pistol in the running game. It works from a pistol in the play actions. The only problem, if you back the quarterback back and the running back's back behind him, he has problems getting around him to pass protect A and B gap blitzes because he's a blitz pickup man. In that case, we would probably cheat him over beside the quarterback, which looks like a gun, but we would just say we're still in a pistol, but we've cheated the R back to where he can pick up the blitz. We haven't gone to a complete gun offense, so to speak. And, of course, we run the draw. We have a very fantastic draw that we ran off of all of these. Great draw play. I never forget when Brigham Young won the national championship one year. They averaged 14.9 yards per carry on this draw play. That's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's basically there. If we talk Sunday, we can either go over each individual pass, or we could go over setting, but we can't do all of these in one day, or setting the pass protection, or the use of formations and motions. Any of those that you choose, or we could go over probably the most important thing of all is teaching a quarterback how to throw a football. Because, none of this is any good if your quarterback couldn't hit the bull in the ass with a spade.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be able to throw the ball. But anybody that would like to email me, I can send him more on all this. Just ask me specific questions, or they can phone me, which is 804-716-7038. I really like talking on the phone more so than emailing, but I can do either or both. So we'll get together again Sunday, Troy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. This has been brought to you by Rat Coach. Help you get organized and be able to run your weight program the right way, like Coach Mountjoy used to run it. So, Coach Mountjoy, thank you for joining us today, and we'll be seeing you on Sunday. Thank you, Coach.